is Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in San Diego County today, joined by Diane Peabody Straw. She is the Executive Director of the Women's Museum of California in San Diego. The Women's Museum of California is here, not in Sacramento or LA or Fresno, it's in San Diego. How did it wind up in San Diego?
Well, our incredible founder really saw a need to create a space for women's history to be preserved and to be honored, because that tends to be lacking in our general conversations about history. So she started building this collection back in the 1980s, and it has turned into a full-fledged museum.
That's for sure. And let's talk about that full-fledged museum, which is in the Arts District of San Diego. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so we moved there several years ago when the Arts District in Liberty Station was really developing. We were one of the first people to move in, and we have enjoyed it. It is a fantastic space for our home, and we, you know, there's a lot of people there who are very committed to the arts and culture, and so yeah, we really love being there.
So let's talk about, if I walk into the museum, which I plan to do, I promise, with my wife and 2 daughters and my mother who has 3 sisters and my grandmother with 7 sisters, that's another conversation. There are 2 permanent exhibits.
That's right.
Let's talk about the first one, focusing on suffrage.
Yes, so a lot of people don't actually realize that the suffrage movement was a state-by-state movement before it became a national law. So we have an exhibit focusing on the California story. California was very ahead of its time. We were the 5th state to gain the right to vote.
I did not know that, and I usually know those types of things. I'm very impressed with your knowledge.
Yeah, so we have, our exhibit is called The March Towards Empowerment, and it's really focused on women paving the way to make sure that we have equal rights today.
And what's remarkable about that story is California still has 2 female U.S. senators.
That's right.
We voted 2 into the same year in 1992. Barbara Boxer retired, but she's been replaced by a woman, Kamala Harris. So
absolutely,
we are ahead of our time in some way.
We are, absolutely. And we are really thrilled that we do get to be here and be a part of that history and preserving the history, because California is just a wonderful place. So.
Indeed. Let's talk about the second permanent exhibit, and that deals with, I guess, trailblazers generally, not political necessarily, although there are some. But talk to us about trailblazers generally.
Right, so this exhibit actually stemmed from a book that our board president and former board member wrote called Women Trailblazers of California, and it focuses on the women who helped build California up in the early days as we were becoming a state, and then that time following that. A lot of people don't necessarily realize, so there are business owners, there's activists, there's attorneys, there's doctors, all of these incredible women that we tend to think weren't there because they weren't necessarily recorded.
No, I hear you. So how many are there? Is it 12 you have?
There's 10.
10, which I can only imagine is inspiring to both little girls and little boys and whoever may be entering the exhibit. Now, so those are the 2 permanent exhibits. Now let's talk about, you have a rotating exhibit. I want to get a sense of that. Well, let's go back. What have we seen? Can't see anymore, but what are some of your favorites? And then we'll talk about what's coming up.
Yes, as far as some of my favorites, gosh, there's so many. So last fall, we had a wonderful exhibit about women being involved in the political process in the 60s and 70s called Rockin' the Political Boat. That one's actually going to be traveling now in San Diego.
We'll talk about traveling.
We'll talk about that, of course.
So what's coming up then?
Coming up, we have several wonderful exhibits. Our next exhibit is going to be a retrospective of the photographer Linda Coolish, who actually photographed civil rights and women's rights activists, as well as artists and poets and musicians throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Wow.
So I think it's very, very timely as we celebrate Black History Month and Women's History Month.
This is really terrific. And a lot of those women were Californians?
A lot were Californians, yes, and then we also have some notable people nationwide like Alice Walker and Judy Chicago and Maya Angelou, who will also, those images will also be on display.
You mentioned the rotating, or when a rotating exhibit, I guess, ends, what happens to it?
We have a program that when whatever exhibits we can get out that we have produced
Sure.
in-house,
Got it.
then can go out and travel, and they reach out to college campuses, libraries, community centers. We've even driven them across state lines before. We'll take them
Whatever it takes,
anywhere
right?
we need to get the word out about these wonderful people.
So, for example, as you said, the Rocking the Boat exhibit travels.
It does. It does. It's going to be at San Diego State next.
Okay.
And then from there, we will see.
Right. Now, you have another exhibit that travels. I think it's an exhibit on women who were refugees to this state and country. Is that fair?
Yeah, they all moved to California. And one of our wonderful board members actually went and interviewed all of them with a professional photographer and created this highlight of these stories of women who have come from every single continent and have very unique cultural backgrounds and wonderful stories to tell of how the state has become their home.
I want to get a sense, if you know, as to why the Women's Museum of California is only one of maybe 5 women's museums in the nation. I mean, you know, we're a nation. We almost elected a female president. I mean, women are very significant players in our democratic experiment, in business, in sport, in whatever it may be.
You know, I think sometimes it's that simply people don't realize the way in which women aren't represented in the general mainstream of our culture. And so I don't know that they recognize the need for it as much as it really is truly there. And there used to be a couple more that had a hard time with the economy, as many nonprofits did. And so, you know, we're very lucky to have had the longevity that we've had.
Why? Meaning, why are you successful? What's going right?
I think that there's...
I know you're at the helm, but other than that, despite you being at the helm...
it's not my taking it all. It's a very, very strong team of passionate women.
No, I understand.
You know, they care.
So let's talk about those passionate women, and men presumably.
Of course.
Can we get involved? Because this is a crown jewel in San Diego and in the state. And I have to think some of our viewers are saying to themselves, I want to get involved. What can I do?
Absolutely. Well, we have lots of opportunities to volunteer, to become a member, to obviously donate. That's always helpful.
Sure.
We also, for our statewide viewers, we are looking for statewide advisory board members as well right now. We're just rolling that out.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So yeah, so we've obviously had some wonderful people sign on already, but we're looking to expand that. And so yeah, people who have interest in nonprofit management, or you know, are maybe leaders in their own fields and would like to lend advice and support, that opportunity is there as well.
Okay, I know that I want to visit. I know our viewers want to visit. How do we visit? What happens? Is it open 7 days a week, or how does this work?
No, it's open 5 days a week, Wednesday through Sunday, from 12 to 4, and then we have those somewhat short hours and then constant events going on that are open to the public, educational programming and such, that if that timing doesn't work, come down for a program, and we're there. We're always there.
Just fantastic. I am so glad you came in and told us about this, like I said, crown jewel in the middle of San Diego. I hope all Californians can come see it, because it is truly special to have in our state.
Thank you.
Her name is Diane Peabody Strauss. She is the executive director of the Women's Museum of California. My name is Brad Pomerance in San Diego today. You're watching Local Edition.
Thank you.
Oh, that's great. So